We are in the year 68. The Roman Empire is in rapid expansion. The brilliant officer Torpes is chosen by Nero to be chief steward of his palace. But converted to Christianity, Torpes refuses to renounce his new faith. Nero, furious, orders that he be beheaded. His head and body are placed in a boat lying between a rooster and a dog, symbols of vigilance and fidelity. On the 17th of May that year, the little craft miraculously beaches on the Hérakles Peninsula. It was in the 5th century that the little port was given the name of its martyr Torpes, which became Saint Tropez, in honor of the patron saint and protector of the city. Thus, Saint Tropez was born. Its summertime glamour hides this little village's glorious past. There is another Saint Tropez, where every year, for 3 days, for the past 4 centuries, the town relives the arrival of the saint and recalls its historic battles. This celebration is both religious and military. It's called the Bravade and is one of the most authentic and ancient traditions of Provence. Founded in 1922, the Friends of the Bravade Association plans the event every year. At its headquarters, the women are busy making preparations. Marius Astezan heads the association. Highly respected, his word is closely followed by townspeople and the local administration. He is the living memory of the Bravade. Nothing is done without consulting him. He is the keystone of these activities, and he ensures respect for tradition. He is the Sepoun.
Sepoun is the Provençal word meaning root, support. In fact, I'm the one who carries on the Saint Tropez traditions. The Bravade is a commemoration of the past, the glorious history of the city. Our ancestors fought so that we could live here and be free. The village was attacked from the sea so often, even destroyed several times, that in 1558 the King of France declared Saint Tropez privileged land, exonerated from taxes on condition that a Saint Tropez army be created with a town captain at its head, whose orders were to defend the city against any invaders. And this army really did fight, battled for nearly a century and a half until the day, during the reign of Louis XIV, when a royal garrison came and was stationed at the citadel. Of course, this meant the end of the Saint Tropez army. But the Tropesians who had fought like their fathers and grandfathers wanted both to avow faith in their patron saint and also honor the courage of their ancestors. And that's why, from year to year, the Bravade tradition is continued. In the officers' corps, the town captain appoints his major from the Bravade. As a rule, it's a friend, a close acquaintance, or a brother chosen because the major has an important role. He is the one who gives all the commands in the Bravade. Then there are 2 young people, 11 or 12 years old, the lieutenant, who twirls the Saint Tropez flags, and the lieutenant major. This is the officers' corps, 4 people total. Then you have the Holy Guardsmen who encircle the saint. They number about 10. Then you have the musketeers and the naval corps. In all, about 170 men. The home of the new town captain, Jean-Paul André, is covered in red and white, the colors of the old Corsair city.
I take great pride in being town captain. For us, there's nothing more thrilling in the world. I've been a bravadeur since the age of 2. I'll be 51 this year, and I've been armed since 1964. I'm one of the old bravadeurs.
No one under 40 is chosen to be town captain. So one can be 40 up to 70, even 100, if you're in good shape. But in the way of criteria, seniority doesn't count to me as much as the family situation. For example, there are men in their 50s who still have their mother and father, who may be 80 or 90, and who would like to see their son made town captain. So I think of him that year. I present him to a commission composed of former town captains and former majors. And after they've given their opinion, I'd present him to the bravadeurs. In any case, my choice is definitive. I present the name because the rules require it, but whether or not they agree, he is chosen by me and will be appointed.
The Bravade Corps, preceded by the band, come to get me in front of my home. Then we all go back to the square in front of Town Hall. That's where they hand me the pole and the flag of my officer corps. Then we go and get the saint. And until the evening, we're going to give numerous official salutes, always the same ones over the years.
Every year, Gabriel Pastorelli takes out his musket.
It's the weapon for the musketeers and for the holy guardsmen. Both of them shoot muskets. After that, there are the sailors with long rifles. I'm preparing the cartridges. I have a few more to do. We have a charge of about 10 grams of powder rolled in these papers. We fold them and put them in a place that's not too warm or humid, where they won't be tampered with. We are supplied with gunpowder by the Friends of the Bravade Association, under the supervision of the Sepoun. We need about 350 kilograms for all the bravadeurs.
In the Béranger family, they're bravadeurs from father to son. This year, Olivier and Bastien were chosen by the town captain to be lieutenant and the lieutenant major. For the first time, they're going to march in the officers' corps.
It's a fantastic honor when you have two sons in the officers' corps.
La bravade, elle dure 3 jours.
The bravade goes on for 3 days, but in fact we talk about it all year long. In every house, there is a statuette of Saint Tropez, which watches over the family. It stays on the mantelpiece. It's a part of our lives. The girls dress in traditional Provençal costumes. The boys are instructed by their moms. Every bravadeur's wife is there with him. Indeed, behind every bravadeur is a woman. At first, their mother instructs them with the processions. Later, it's their girlfriend, fiancée, wife, or grandmother.
This year, I'm going to be lieutenant major. I accompany my brother at each salute. But first, I have to go and get the flag on the 16th and bring it back to the town hall square on the 17th. Since I was little, I've wanted to be in the officer corps. It's like a dream come true. The distinction of being town captain is an important one. I don't want to be presumptuous in saying that it's as distinguished as the Legion of Honor, but for me it counts that much. The first Sapoon practically relaunched the Bravade. He's the one who got it going again. We're here today thanks mostly to him. It means even more to me because the Sapoon Saint Martin is my great-uncle. He died 30 years ago. 40 years ago, he was the town captain. I'll be wearing his uniform and his hat tomorrow. He wore it 40 years ago, and I'll wear it in the procession. I honor his memory, and I hope I can live up to his high standards.
The cortege has now left Town Hall Square, moving toward the port where homage will be paid to Bailiff de Suffren, whose statue was erected in 1866. It was cast in bronze using captured enemy cannons. A legendary figure of the village, Pierre-André de Suffren worked his way up the ranks through his victorious campaigns in the Indies and was then named Bailiff by Louis XVI. A colorful character whose plain speaking made him the very incarnation of Saint Tropez. Saint Tropez played a large part in Mediterranean trade. Sailors and ship captains from here were highly prized by the marine and merchant navies. The Saint Tropez Association of Vintage Sailing Ships rebuilt one of the most used boats in the Western Mediterranean, the Tartane. Gérard Bany is the association president.
We're on a Tartane, a transport boat that began operating on the Mediterranean coast from the beginning of the 19th century. They were used for coastal navigation. Sometimes they were slightly modified and turned into sailing trawlers for fishing. They were used mainly for carrying wine, cork, lumber, charcoal, even postal mail. Everything you can think of that's carried today by trucks. This one is 14 meters long. Often they were 18 or even 22 meters. It's a boat with 170 square meters of sail divided in half. The mainsail and the jib. At Saint Tropez, there were still a few operating in 1964. I think there are still 3 left. When this boat first arrived in Saint Tropez, we were asked to join the festivities.
Saint Tropez has always lived off the sea. That's why, geographically, we are one of the smallest communities in the Var region. All the inland villages have been in wine growing and forestry and have been incorporated into large communities like Ramatuelle or Gassin.
Mrs. Astezan, the Sepoun's wife, holds a position in the association. She calls it the Oustao, meaning home in Provençal. She spends most of her time, as well as most of her energy, here.
We are preparing the flowers for Sunday morning's Mass. We will make about 5,000 of them.
The people of Saint Tropez are believers, and religion plays an important part in their lives. In fact, their religion is strongly linked to their patron saint. He is to be seen everywhere. Venerated and worshipped, he is truly a cult figure. This Mass of the Musketeers is dedicated solely to him. The flower bouquets will then be blessed, one at a time.
En souvenir et en l'honneur de Saint Tropez, au nom du Père et du Fils et du Saint-Esprit. Amen.
The Mass is followed by a parade through the town, with all the people joining in. In paying homage to the 16 generations that have made Saint Tropez, everyone dresses in Provençal costumes. Leading the cortege is the sculpted head of Saint Tropez, followed by 4 men in red called pisans. They symbolize the martyrs' executioners. Jean Denouy has been the Naval Corps captain for 15 years. At his first Bravade in 1935, he was a lieutenant. He's one of the oldest bravadeurs.
I had a new one made because I couldn't fit into the other one.
They didn't put on the anchors?
No, apparently, for us, there aren't any. I joined the Bravade in 1938. I was in a corps that disappeared, the artillerymen. Then I went into the Naval Corps after serving in the French Navy. Since 1935, I've been in the Bravade, and I've never missed one. I was town captain in 1980 and the Naval Corps commander since 1983.
calm returns to Saint Tropez. In the little port, one man is already up, well before the others. As every morning aboard his little craft, he sets off to lift his nets. He is one of the 7 last fisherman skippers of Saint Tropez. In the 60s, there were more than 50 skippers. Today, things have changed a lot. But the mullet, scorpionfish, and dory are still very popular. This traditional fishing is much appreciated by the people here. Once his nets are up, Guy Darcot heads back to port to sell his catch. He has to hurry because if he's not set up by 9 o'clock, he may lose his customers. It's here in this little fish market that old Saint Tropez began. Through a zigzag entranceway, you walk into the old town. The fish market is placed under a porch, which used to mark the entrance to the city in the old days. Today, few people keep alive the glorious past when Saint Tropez boasted more than 120 seagoing captains and 900 ships in its port. There may not be many today, but there are enough to remind us that the sea has always been uppermost in the town's history. Everything would come and go from the sea, which was the main means of communication with the outside world. Back at Town Hall Square, a Bravadeur's child is wrapping the bust of Saint Tropez with a red cloth. This is to symbolize the passage from the past to the present. On May 18th, in the morning, the Bravadeurs gather at St. Anne's Chapel. The chapel was built in 1618 after the city had been spared from an epidemic of the plague. In the past, sailors climbed up here before going to sea to ask St. Anne for help and protection. Any arguments throughout the year are forgotten over a reception. It has to be said that the people of Saint Tropez are famous for their bluntness. There are always some neighbors' quarrels which are quickly forgiven on this day of glory that unites all hearts. The women have again dressed in traditional Provençal attire. The children follow their parents and play an active part in the Bravade, in this way learning to carry on the traditions. The procession makes its way back down to the village to end these 3 days of festivities. At Saint Tropez, they're proud of their traditions. As they have shown us, there's another side of Saint Tropez, and this one is theirs. Tomorrow, the smell of gunpowder will be gone. The fifes and tambourines will be silent. But in every heart, the musket salvos will still echo the past, demonstrating how strongly the people feel about their glorious history and their city. As the Bravadeur's motto puts it, ad usque fidelis, faithful to the end.